This is the Persevere podcast where we help founders to create awesome business products and not run out of money. Hi, everyone. I'm Patty Post, founder and CEO of Checkable Health. I started this podcast because I was experiencing loneliness and solitude as a solo founder. I literally had no one to turn to, and I couldn't find relevant content for founders of high-tech startups. And so, like the true entrepreneur I am, I decided to do it myself. Hence the Persevere podcast. I interview founders and entrepreneurs that are persevering through business. We talk about their founder stories. We talk about their vision and their mission, their strategy, and we talk about how they've persevered through the mistakes that they've made. Because if you are a founder, you know that you've made plenty of them, but most of the time, that's how our best lessons are learned. Today, the founder that I'm interviewing today is Sali Christeson. Sali is founder of Argent. Argent is a workwear brand for women, and she's based in New York. She is running the business with her husband, Dave, and they have compiled a wonderful team of creative, high fashion creatives, marketers, and they have just done a beautiful job with their brand. I'm wearing their suit right now. I actually have 4 of their suits. I love them. I love their pants. And I love what she is all about in terms of her brand and women empowerment. She literally created the brand because she found a gap in the marketplace. Like most of us, you're probably listening like, oh yeah, I either have this idea and no one else is doing it in the world, or yep, that's what I'm living out. And that's what we're talking with Sali about today, is how she founded Argent, what she's doing as an emerging brand to really create a customer first brand, and how when she thinks of the brand, how she wants her customers to feel, which I appreciate as a customer because I just love going to her website. I love her newsletters. I love her products. And whenever they come out with something new, like right now, I am going to get their latest suit to wear at the HLTH conference. And 2022. That said, if any of you are going to the health conference, I'd love for you to meet up with me. Send me a direct message either on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and love to meet up. There's going to be so many fun events and really great speakers, as well as great opportunities for founders to meet investors, strategic partners. And I will be wearing all Argent suits. So then you can take a look at how these suits actually function and how they are just comfortable, very well made, and they just look really high fashion and stylish. So with that said, let's get into it with Sali. She has some great advice on hiring, which I think is a key element to the success of a founder. Whether you've gone through this, you can relate, or if you haven't yet gone through it, she gives some sound advice there. As well as if you are a dreamer like I am, to hear of where she started and then where she is today and where she is ending up in the end of 2022, I think you're going to be really inspired too. So with that said, let's get into it with the interview with Sali, founder of Argent. Sali Christeson, I am so excited to talk with you. Audience, Sali is the founder and CEO of Argent Work. Sali, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So I'm wearing an Argent suit, and I have to say, give credit to your husband, David, because you and David are a team in this. As most founders are, we have our partner that we definitely lean on for support, and a lot of the brains behind the business is our partner, right? So I had such a fun time meeting the both of you in June and learned a lot about the both of you. But I was actually only a customer because I was targeted on a digital ad on Instagram. And so on my last podcast, I actually said, gosh, the digital marketing, it's so hard because you throw money at these ads and you just don't even know if they end up working. Well, here is a testament that it works, and David knows what he's doing, and you know what you're doing when it comes to a beautiful product style. It's fantastic. So I'd love to talk about your story, and then where you're going with the brand. And then, of course, we love to talk about some missteps that we've had as founders.
Lots of
And
them.
and yes, right. No one says I only had one. They're like, okay, which one should I actually pick out? So we're not alone in that. So with that, let's hear the story of how you came up with Argent Work, Sally.
So let's start with the fact that Dave's going to love where we kick things off for sure, because I don't think I do give him enough credit. But yeah, so Argent was born from honestly a personal pain point of mine, and it feels it felt then like a shared pain point. It's still something that it feels like we're very much solving, which is as simple as product that is made for working women. Like we're
Mm-hmm,
just the afterthought, it feels like,
mm-hmm,
when, at least in my experience, when I was shopping for various forms of work, I didn't feel like I was really actually considered in the design process, and just couldn't quite find something that felt like me. And
mm-hmm,
so, you know, it wasn't quality, it wasn't stylish, it was, really frustrating. And for a time constrained woman that's work focused,
mm-hmm,
it was something I was always acutely aware of. And then I was working at Cisco and read a study that showed that women are judged based on appearance, and that was really all I needed to see to make the decision to quit and go after this, because I saw an opportunity to really cater to like my favorite audience, which are working women,
mm-hmm,
and build a brand around it and build a product that offers functional details that help you streamline your day to day and offer comfort and versatility. And in the process, getting the opportunity to do storytelling around these powerhouse women has been just a dream, to be honest. And it was something that I really wanted to do because I did not grow up with role models in that way. I mean, my parents are
mm-hmm,
amazing, don't get me
mm-hmm,
wrong. But I felt like I could be a housewife or maybe a doctor or like a lawyer, a banker, but my career choices were somewhat limited, it felt like. And so my goal was really to celebrate all forms of career and, give the next generation of women something to model off of.
And you have two daughters, right?
A boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl. So that's something that they can look up to too for that next generation. That's what mom's vision is, and she's going after it.
Totally.
And you didn't mention fashion, but I think of it as very high fashion too. I mean, your color palette, the style. You're based in New York, so you're on trend, and I mean, future of trend because I'm in the Midwest. So I look to you. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm definitely gonna be trendy if I wear this, which I very much appreciate. Um, I like it that your fabric, like the use of textiles that you have are very intentional too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I want to be very clear that I am the business side of Argent. And so something that I felt like I'd seen in the past is that um, there have been companies that have gone after this category but tried to solve the problem themselves. And I'll be the first to tell you that I do not have any sort of experience or degree in fashion. And so I recognize the fact that building, muscle in that sphere was very integral to our success. And
Mhm,
so we have a creative team that's unbelievably talented, and they have, a very robust backgrounds. We have a creative director that's, incredibly impressive with over 2 decades of experience. And so, yeah, so we are accessible, I would say, as the goal, but we are certainly offering a range of options for all types of personalities. Some women love and embrace bright colors, and you
mhm,
truly could not find it before we started.
mhm, mhm,
And so, how do we offer colors that allow you to get on stage or to go into the office and just feel like your best self and that you're able to create an extension of your personal brand through this like visual component.
Mhm.
We have run this super majority campaign, which is like the centerpiece of that is this bright pink suit.
Mhm.
Um, and again, that's representative of like our collective power as women, et cetera. So yes, we absolutely offer a range of colors, but we also have your basics. So our core offering, includes olive, navy, black, ivories, whites. So we have your basics as well. So our goal is really to cater to working women, and everyone has a different appetite for color. And we do have some more fashionable pieces as well, but it really, again, it's a range, and I think it's all accessible. Like that's really the goal, is for it to just be easy and as formulaic as possible, but to just make you feel great and make you feel thought of. So when you're in your meeting, or you can pull out your pen from your stylist pocket, or you go to the back and
Yeah.
you pull out your tampon, or you're traveling and you've got your ID in your interior pocket of your blazer, you push up your sleeve, there's a band there to hold them in place. So it's really just about options, I would say.
Mhm. Super functional. Like
Functionally, totally.
they're my favorite to wear to conferences too, because I don't like to have a purse on me, but then I'm able to have everything, breath mints and cards and pens within the jacket, and I don't feel like it's weighing me down because they're strategically placed. So,
Totally. Yeah,
super
that's the
functional.
goal. Yeah, and versatility too, because I think
Mhm.
work has changed a lot. So, like, what
Yeah.
work looks like has changed a lot. I came at this through the tech lens. So, where I was working, we were already, I think that we were at the forefront of like this casualization of work, and we
Mhm.
were wearing denim, styling it with blazers, and there was no real formula for women yet. I think we were all looking to like Mark Zuckerberg
Mm.
style or like Steve
Mhm.
Jobs style, but when we try and emulate that as women, I oftentimes saw that not be us at our best. Like I saw a lot of women that would just copycat that and then would carry themselves differently for the
Mhm.
worse.
You're right.
And I think our goal is to create the formula that makes you feel at your best, but is still appropriate for whatever industry you're in. So, um, yeah, versatility is a huge component of what we're building. Mix and match, everything goes back to everything else. That's the goal.
So, tech background at Cisco, and then okay, I'm going to create this fashion brand because I want a suit that I can wear myself, and I think that other people want it too. That takes so much courage. And how did you make that launch from being gainfully employed to starting Argent work?
It's funny. It's just Argent, just
Oh,
FYI.
do I always just say Argent work because that's your URL?
Probably. Yeah,
Got it.
it's confusing.
It's
It's
not conf-
caused us challenges. But anyway, um yeah, I mean, it's ironic that you asked this question because I was just talking to another entrepreneur and we were discussing how you have to be somewhat naive to start your own company,
Yes.
but it's also in my DNA. So like I
Mhm.
was destined to start a company. I am the squeakiest wheel in a corporate environment. I need things to move quickly. I want to be able to make my own decisions. I want the logical choice to just
Mhm.
be the choice. I want to move. So it was an obvious thing that I like landed in entrepreneurship. That said, it is not for the faint of heart. I know we all know that, but like it truly is something I think you have to go into a bit blindly.
100%.
So
You
yeah,
wouldn't do it otherwise, right? You'd be like, I am not going to put myself through that.
it doesn't make any sense. But you also have to, I always talk about this, you have to have conviction in whatever your end game is.
Mhm.
What's your goal and are you truly committed to it? Because we've been on this journey that's unprecedented. Like we went
Mhm.
through 2 years of a pandemic when people were not going to work, and no scenario planning was I thinking women won't be in offices, period.
Right.
So there just are so many things that are thrown your way. But at the end of the day, I just believe in like women. I believe in gender equity. We're super like mission driven, values driven. And I just, in my soul, feel like this brand deserves to exist for women. So that's really what keeps me going and why I even got it off the ground to begin with.
And with that fuels then the perseverance, right? You just keep going, and Of course, there's bumps in the road with everything that we do in our education or, in relationships that you can't look at it as I'm going to be derailed and then I'm never going to get back to it. You get derailed and then you get back to it.
Yeah, and I came into it thinking this will be a great experience. There will be a ton of growth that comes from it. So like what's the worst that could happen? I have to re-enter corporate America. Like cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Did you do that? Like have a worst case? Like me and Dave and the kids are going to, move back to, well, you did. Did you move your family to New York or were you already there?
oh, we've moved a lot with Argent. We did not, I think we like loosely had a plan,
Okay.
super loose, again, like so naive. But I think that we just agreed that I'd get a shot at this, you know, we were aligned on that. And kids weren't in the picture when I started Argent, so
Okay.
that wasn't part of the equation. But yeah, for me, it was what's the worst that could happen? It's failure, cool, you know, good experience. So let's
Right.
go for it.
Yep. Put that on your resume and you'll apply it to your corporate life then, right?
Or start something else or whatever it is. It
Mhm.
just felt like fine. It feels like there's only upside from this.
Mhm.
It
No.
also sorry, it also just doesn't feel that risky. Like I've read something
Yeah.
that founders are not actually as risk tolerant as people think that we are. We just are
Mhm.
like have such belief in what we're building, you know, and we see
Yeah.
something that other people don't see. So that's true for me, I would say, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. If you think of like a big corporation that looks at all of their different business opportunities that they're going to pursue and fund, but they have like 15 or more that they're going after, and then they whittle it down to three. Well, we have one, right? Like, this is my one thing. I'm going to put everything into it. So
Yes.
when you have one that you are pursuing, it just doesn't, you think of the worst case scenario, but all of your energy is going to that one thing, unlike the big corporate giants.
Yes.
And that's why they acquire us, right?
Yes.
And is that so? Actually, I'm going to put that aside because I have another question in regards to that. But I want to talk about your Dave, that he had the background that he left his job as well, and you two have such a great business mind together, and then you, as you were saying, your creative team. But from that business strategy, tell me about Dave and what his role is with the business.
Yeah, so our goal from day one hasn't really deviated much. It's to be the workwear authority for women. And so we just want to be like the one stop shop, make it easy. You know, you can come here, all walks of life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we launched in 2016. I quit my job in 2015, launched in 2016. Dave was only loosely involved in what we were building. I mean, he was like spouse that I didn't actually share everything with because that was my escape, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to 2019, it felt like we continued to look for this marketing role. Yeah, so so we were looking for a marketing role. It felt like 20 starting in 2017, talked to various folks. Admittedly, I probably paid attention to marketing later than I should have, but I was really focused on figuring out product and product market fit and operations and probably like candidly things I was more comfortable in,
Mm-hmm.
projections, finances, etc. So I would say like marketing was the one area that I had less experience in business wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I also felt like it's a hard decision to make to like pour money into something when you don't feel like it's completely there, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So it took a while for us to get to a point where I feel confidence in like pouring money into whatever, Facebook, Instagram ads
Mm-hmm.
for you to see this photo, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
you to see this product, for me to think it's compelling enough for you to then click on it. So I think that there was a level of like de-risking as well that, you know, I spent the first couple of years figuring out, let's get a few like super loyal fans and see what's working with those fans versus trying to like really get eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
So then we looked for this marketing role, and I feel like it's the hardest role to find.
Mm.
And
Same.
it's so hard. And
Mm-hmm.
I was living with the person who had the skill set that we needed.
Yeah.
So I think I like was pretty resistant initially. And then the way that we got there is that Dave started doing stuff just on the side. And so he started taking things. And his background, just for context, so he started Agency World working at McDonald's and Happy Meal toys. He then worked at Electronic Arts, worked on video games. He then worked at Adidas, retail marketing, and then he worked at Apple. He has incredible experience, and we are opposites. Like we should work together.
Yeah.
So in 2019, we finally just made the decision for him to come on full time as well and to really own marketing. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
the best decision that we've made, honestly.
That's so cool. I just
So,
love that.
I mean, he's just so talented. And there's like a level of divide and conquer that really works for us where I trust him. He can take stuff and run with it. We balance one another. And he's committed to what we're building. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just sort of this perfect marriage.
Man,
I
that's
think.
so
And
cool. He's had huge, those are all name household brand names that he's had experience with. So it's no wonder that we see, I mean, your brand stands up. I mean, it can stand up next to a brand that's been like a Levi's, right? Like it's been
thank you.
around for decades. And there's Argent that's just as comparable. And I really believe that recognizable, like through corporate America, that Argent will be a household name for women. I mean, I think that every woman that's an executive should, and not an executive, you're a salesperson that's going in to sign a contract, you should be wearing a suit. Like, bottom line, I think that it's, um, I think that we don't appreciate it enough, the power of wearing a blazer. And I like that you said wearing with jeans too, but yeah, it really does make you feel differently.
Thank you. That's
Mm-hmm.
true too. Like that's proven, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
ton of data, there's a ton of research. Oh, it's called something and I should know what it's called. But essentially, when you wear something you feel great and you carry yourself differently, we all know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't necessarily have to be a suit, but like that's the point, right? We just launched this collaboration with A Goldie and we now have denim in our
Mm-hmm.
assortment. And so if you are in, if you tend toward blazer jean or sweater and jean, like we have that.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to give you something you feel good in and where you were thought of as part of
Mm-hmm.
like at the start of the process. When
Mm-hmm.
we go into design, we're thinking about customers. But thank you for saying that. That's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our I think the other piece for us is it's about connection and like community. And so oftentimes, and this is the case for me, I was the most senior woman on a team and I was very young in tech.
Mm-hmm.
There were like two women at the table most time, like on a good day.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of your armor and it's this thing that sort of links us,
Yeah.
and so knowing that there's an army of women that are going through similar struggles to you,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not there, like that's really the goal of the brand.
Mm-hmm. I love how you were mentioning earlier of the women that you are uh, featuring
Hmm.
and their careers, and that just very well documented on the website. And it's fun to see those features come out too
Thank you.
and read those stories. That's very well done. That's part of your mission, and you consider that community.
100%. Yeah. So I think the thing that excites me more about anything that we do is who we dress. It's
Mm-hmm.
what I live for.
Mm-hmm.
And so from day one, I have wanted to dress and, showcase these women that are part of our community and that are doing incredible work in completely different industries and bringing together their stories and like connecting them too. That's like one of the most exciting parts is bringing women from different cities, different backgrounds together. Um, and it's our Work Friends series is what it's called. It's our marquee editorial franchise, excuse me, where we showcase, 5 to 6 women a season, and they become our models that season. But there's a lot of storytelling built into that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually recently caught up with a former professor of mine from grad school. His daughter was here. He was here with his wife and his daughter, who's looking at colleges. And they were talking about how their favorite thing to do is to read the profiles of women that come out, and they'll like sit the second they launch, they'll sit and read through them. And the daughter was talking about how much it has inspired her and all that. It makes me emotional to even think about, because I'm like, that's the point, like that's
Yes.
the goal.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's so cool. That I love those touching stories when you get to meet your customers, and how, because sometimes it does feel like it, maybe it doesn't to you, but sometimes it feels like when you're trying to do those things that are, for lack of a better word, soft skills, like building those soft skills, it's like, gosh, what's the return on the investment here? And then when you just get one testimonial like that, you're like, there it is. Like, it's worth
Makes it
it.
all worth it.
Yep.
Totally. Yes. And those are the things, like, on bad days, just the best thing you can do is turn into your customer and your
Mm-hmm.
community. That's
Mm-hmm.
what always keeps me going.
Yep.
We've all had terrible days. Like, I've actually had days where I'm like, I'm just not going to work today. Like, it's best if I'm not present,
Yeah. Yep.
So, on those days when I need to get my head back into the game, I always start with customer.
That's customer first. I call those personal days, where I'm like, I just got to take a personal day, put my phone down, do what I got to do, binge something on Netflix, go get a yoga class and a green juice and take a walk. Like, that's
A
kind of my
shower.
routine.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes, totally. So how about your fundraising? Are you all privately funded, or have you gone out and raised capital?
We I would almost call what we've done fairly private for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
but we did a friends and family pre-seed, we did a bridge, we did a seed,
Mm-hmm.
that was led by VC, but out of their
Mm-hmm.
scalp fund.
Mm-hmm.
And now hopefully
In the black?
we're hopefully through that. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I don't know what a scalp fund is.
Scout fund, a lot of
Oh, scout.
venture. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about that.
Yeah, a lot of VCs want to participate in industries that they wouldn't normally be investing in typically, and this is old news now, I would say. So this was years ago, and I don't know who's doing what, because the landscape's shifted so much in the past couple of years. But um, for the marquee VCs that are predominantly investing in tech, because that's where you see your payoff that they want to see within the window they want to see it, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll carve out money that's like to put into other industries that they maybe don't have expertise in or aren't really known for investing in,
Got
and
it.
write, smaller check sizes. But for us, that could be significant money, because I don't need the same levels of funding that like a Facebook does or
Mm-hmm.
Amazon does, et cetera. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, so some VCs have created scout funds for that.
Got it. I think of it as an impact fund, just in healthcare as impact. So scout fund. That's a good definition. I haven't. We'll have to put that in our notes, because part of this podcast is for those aspiring entrepreneurs or already in it. That's something that you can even search and do some Google alerts of scout fund announcements and things like that.
Totally. I know for another VC, their scout fund is dedicated to scouts. And so they actually have designated successful entrepreneurs that can write checks out of the fund.
Oh,
It's
wow.
so, yeah. So essentially, like, they've tapped, a handful of really successful and like standalone success stories,
Mhm.
that they've then tapped to find the next success story. So they all have an allocation from that fund.
Very, very cool. I'm going to look this up. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about some of these or a misstep just that comes to mind. And you think of the misstep, and I always learn the best from those problems or those missteps. I'm like, okay, this is what I would have done differently. Hopefully I don't make the same mistake twice. I am guilty of doing that. But what comes to mind and how would you have prepared differently?
I mean, this list is so long. I feel like I've made every mistake. One of the big ones that I think I have actually corrected is hiring.
Mm-hmm.
I used to interview and project my own enthusiasm onto candidates.
Yes.
And then I'd be like, they get it, and I'd just talk too much and I'd get excited off of probably my own energy.
Yes.
And I think we also hired from a place of desperation too, because it's like you just so urgently want roles filled. So I think early on it was just that my hiring strategy was quite flawed,
Yeah.
which then just opens up a world of problems.
Okay, so your experience, you had a lot of enthusiasm when you were interviewing people. And what was the result of this?
Yeah, so we've hired the wrong agencies, we've hired the wrong individuals, full-time, part-time, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to learn this lesson the hard way,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I think you might have to, because people warned me of doing this, but the team
Yeah.
is one of the most important parts of of your success story,
Mm-hmm.
and of your journey. And we all know hiring one wrong person can just be such a distraction for you and like an
Yeah.
emotional drain, because you feel so many emotions, whether you feel guilt for bringing on the wrong person, you feel guilt if you have to let them go, all of this, there's so much
Yes.
to it. There's a lot that you cannot even say in that process, both to
Mm-hmm.
the person and externally. You just have to absorb so much of it. So
Mm-hmm.
the learning is to create, an infrastructure that doesn't allow me to just rush hires. And so now
Yeah.
we've got, I'm the worst person probably now to hire people. And I know that. And I've gotten better at it and I've gotten better at finding talent, but I check myself. So I make sure that there are multiple people on the team that are being, part of the interview process. And we take our time with it
Mm-hmm.
because it's worth it to take your
Yes.
time with it to get the right person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
the interviewing, I'm setting up the system right now. I'm just so glad that you're honest about this because that has been something I'm self-conscious of because like I tell my investors, "Hey, I hired this great hire." And then 6 months later I'm like, "Oh, well actually they weren't so good." And I have one investor that's I'm really close with that is family and he's like, "Well, why didn't you figure that out in the interview process?" I'm like, "Well, I was a little bit quick to hire and I just had to learn that."
in your defense, too, in our new process, we've put people through the ringer. I mean, to the point
Mhm.
where they've done projects and then they join, and you're like, we've had consultants turn full time.
Yes.
I've been blindsided before,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like I did everything I possibly could. I think as a founder, the lesson is yes, set up as much infrastructure as you can to vet.
Mhm.
Bring in your investors if you're smaller and it's earlier to
Mhm.
interview as well, because I think that is one trait of business leaders is that they can really read people in a very short period of time.
Yes.
But also pull the plug as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Second, you realize that it's the wrong person. And I know that this is like cliche advice, but it's so true. And I have said on things like this before, but the second you know that it's not working, you've got to make that call.
Mhm. Mhm. That is very consistent. I waited for a couple of times and I'm like, "Oh, well, I bet it will work it out. I can make it. We can make it right. We can have an intervention." And it just doesn't. And then did you feel empowered after the couple of times that you're like, "You know what? This just isn't working out. I'm going to give you an opportunity to find something better. And I'm giving my company the opportunity to find a better fit as well." It's once I got through that first couple of times, I'm like, it's best for both parties.
Always. It's always best for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like relationships, it's
Right.
very similar. And there are personality types and work ethics that work within our culture, and there are ones that don't. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's two-sided generally. I think the hardest part, and this is just like a founder challenge is that and a business challenge, but you just are so limited in terms of what you can say,
Mm-hmm.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah.
Did you ever have the mistake of giving equity up front, or like was a challenge for me? I guess I didn't understand the value of equity going in. I'm like, oh, well, what's 1%? What's 5%? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, actually 1% is a lot of the business when it comes down to it.
Yes. Generally speaking, actually, no. I was pretty guarded about that. I did bring on one individual and compensated with way too much equity, I would say, in
Mm-hmm.
hindsight. But I'm not too, I think it's all worked out the way that it was supposed to with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, in general, no, I think I've been okay on that. But I know that that is only because I know this lesson from other
Mm-hmm.
founders. I think this is one that was easier for me to buffer against, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, whoever is listening, then be very protective and guarded with your equity, because it goes away, especially if you're raising capital, it goes away really fast.
Well, and I think what I'm most sensitive to is like advisors. Like, I feel like I
Yeah.
get introduced to a lot of new founders who are just trying to get their company off the ground, and they
Mm-hmm.
bring on advisors year one, month six, whatever it is. That's so early in your journey.
Mm-hmm.
You want people that are willing to show up for you without any expectation.
Advisors do ask for a lot too. It's like 3%, 5%, and you just met them. I'm like, how are you asking for that much equity? I just met you.
One of the biggest turnoffs for me is people that ask for equity, meeting one, or a board seat. I actually had to walk away, and this was early days, from $100,000 angel investment because she wanted a board seat, and it just
Mm-hmm.
felt so premature, misaligned, everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was the right decision for me to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, well, the other thing is like you don't really know what you need that early on. You need people to write checks and to be in your corner and to be available to you as you need them. And
Mm-hmm.
the ones that really step up and are adding an inordinate amount of value, like bring them on as formal advisors, but wait to make that decision until you really are clear on the value that they're bringing.
Yep.
In general, I have involved people who are involved because they genuinely believe in what we're building.
Yes. I am just putting my formal advisory board together, and one of the gentlemen has been with me. He started Welly, and years ago, I saw an ad in a I actually think it was a TV feature. I'm like, oh, I need to talk to him. He's from Target. He lives in Minneapolis. He had coffee with me, and he has given me so much advice and got on random calls, never asked for anything. And now I'm finally putting this together. I'm like, we do want to make this formal. Like, can we go steady?
Yes.
And is this amount of equity a good amount for you, and how much we meet? And he's like, absolutely, so believe in what you're doing. And I want to be a part of this. And that feels like a much better relationship than the one that gave me time, but then right up front was like, I want 20% of the company. I'm like, what?
Yes.
How does that happen? And
Yes.
I mean, I guess you have to give credit to those people that are willing to ask for it. Then if you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. But to me as a founder, I look at that person like, you clearly have never founded your own company because you're asking for that.
Yeah, yeah, I actually know of people who have founded their own companies that fight pretty hard for equity. So
Mm,
it's just, yeah.
just
But that's
depends.
the founder you described, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
It's the dream profile of person. It's the reason you want people involved in what you're building. So
Hmm.
that's what I really tried to look for, and very similar path. Like now we're looking at formalizing our board of directors and like, bringing on someone hopefully that is just additive to the business in every way and values aligned to the business and just in it for the right reasons.
I love that. All right. So you have some exciting stuff happening. Let's talk about that.
We have a lot happening. So we had time to think about what we wanted to do in this moment. So basically, COVID happened and we had to really pump the brakes and, wind things down. And intentionally, we chose to survive because that
Mm,
was honestly a choice because we went to
yeah.
$0 revenue overnight from the best months in our existence.
Yeah.
So it was pretty rough. And at the end of the day, I just knew that despite the articles that came out saying workwear is dead forever, et cetera, that this moment was coming. And
Mhm.
so we are now in this period of time where we have so much momentum and I feel like we're really
Yeah.
set up to capitalize on it and this is our time.
Mm.
And let's see, we launched our fall assortment that I just have a ton of confidence in. We introduced denim, as I mentioned earlier, in partnership with A Goldie, which is something I've wanted to do for years.
So
Offer work
cool.
appropriate denim. We are running our super majority campaign. So we brought back this hot pink suit around the midterms, which has been really exciting and energizing. Uh, One of the bigger pieces of news, we launched in Nordstrom. So
Awesome.
that happened in September. That's a relationship I'm really excited about. We've been talking to them for years, and we could not have lucked out more that this is when we're launching with them because workwear is dominant right now in apparel. So it's a focus
Mhm.
area for them. And, there's just a lot of synergy.
Yeah.
And then we're opening a store in New York. So this is our first post-COVID retail. It's in Soho in Manhattan, and it's amazing. So it's on track to open mid-November, but honestly, it's pretty ready to go. So yeah, there's a lot happening.
I can't wait to come visit.
When are you coming back? Please come.
I think we're going to come in January, February to visit a manufacturer in New Jersey. And I want to take my dad to the Music Man. It's his favorite musical. So, okay, so I don't know when I'm coming, but I'm going to come and I'm going to document. We actually are putting some videos together, Sally, of when Julie and I visited. And then, I just love like that white dress that I have of yours that I was like, I am not trying that on, Sally, because I saw it online and I was like, that is not that model is so tall and thin. That is not me. I put it on and it's like I get more compliments when I wear that dress. And then the blue dress, that is,
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
and if you remember, I spilled something on it. It
Yes.
was so embarrassing because I had a meatball and someone said something to me and it rolled onto the front. And then I tried to like wash it off. So then it washed up. It dry cleaned beautifully.
Oh,
Beautifully.
that
It's
makes
like,
me so
it's
happy.
perfect. Yeah.
We have
And
this
then,
cobalt suit made for you right now. That's
yeah.
like
So
all I can think about.
I'm going to order that for the health. HLTH conference is coming up in Las Vegas. So I'm actually going to order that this weekend.
It's
So
like
I can't,
the whole time we've been talking, I'm like, you need cobalt, you need cobalt. Or
yeah.
purple could be fun on you too.
Or I really like the Kelly green that you just
This
came
would
out
be
with as
fun
well.
too. Yes, with like the
Yeah.
forest would be nice underneath it too.
Yes. And then with the jeans,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So I've got some spending to do on Argent. So the website is argentwork.com. The social channels that we should all first buy, and everyone gets 10% off when you first log in, put in your email address, you get 10% off. And then what are the social channels?
Argent, at Argent on Instagram. I think it's Argent on Facebook, Argent on Twitter,
Okay.
Argent Work on TikTok. But
Okay.
we don't really use TikTok. We're working on it.
My gosh, I didn't know you had a TikTok too. I'll have to tag you in the TikToks that we do.
I don't think we do anything on TikTok. We're figuring it out.
Well, I'll give you some content then.
This is my Achilles heel, social media.
Well, I love you and Dave and everything that you're building and your team. You have just a fantastic team. We talk about team is so incredibly important, and you're just a really fun emerging brand to know and to be a part of. I feel like I'm part of your community, which really feels special as a customer. And you're just so intentional in what you're doing, Sally. So thank you for really making me feel really confident in what I do every day.
Thank you, Patty. Oh, this means so much. Thank you for all of your support. I'm very grateful to just be here, to know you, I mean, you're in Argent right now, which is the cherry on top, but thank you for everything.
Yes, you're so welcome. Best of luck. And we'll have to follow up and maybe do a live when I'm out there and, showcase the showroom.
I've got the store waiting for you.
I love it. Well, you take care and keep persevering in business, everyone, just like Sally has.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
That was such an easy episode for me to do. Sally is so approachable and just really real. I was so appreciative of her sharing her experience and her missteps that she made in her hiring, but how she put structure together after that. Also, really like her community building. I really encourage you to go to her website and see how she really does profiles of these women and how she uses what their mission is, personal mission, and then ties it to Argent. It was funny because we actually had 5 different takes of that podcast. So we had to put this all together. And Sally was as cool as a cucumber. I don't know whose Wi Fi it was, but we kept cutting out on this recording. And she's just like, okay, let's start over again, which I was very appreciative of. But again, like with any founder's journey, hey, we're going to have bumps in the road. You just got to pick yourself up. So if you're in a position right now that you feel like you just need the personal day, as we talked about, or maybe things aren't going the right way, you've had a few missteps, we're here to tell you that you are the only one that can get this company through to fruition. So keep on persevering in business. If you would like to head on over to our LinkedIn group, it is the Persevere Podcast, where we can continue this conversation and get suited up in Argent. Like I said, she offers a 10% for every customer, and it is the most well-made suit and investment that you will make, and you'll feel confident, and it will be an investment that actually will last a lifetime because they're very timeless. And with that, all of you keep on persevering with business. Send me a message if you have a founder that you'd like me to interview. We're looking for guests in 2023. I'd love to hear their story, and just participate in all of our social media channels and follow me. Patty Post CEO. I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn at Patty Gaslin Post. Thank you. And until next time, keep on persevering in business. That was such an easy episode for me to do. Sally is so approachable and just really real. I was so appreciative of her sharing her experience and her missteps that she made in her hiring, but how she put structure together after that. Also, really like her community building. I really encourage you to go to her website and see how she really does profiles of these women and how she uses what their mission is, personal mission, and then ties it to Argent. It was funny because we actually had 5 different takes of that podcast. So we had to put this all together, and Sally was as cool as a cucumber. I don't know whose Wi Fi it was, but we kept cutting out on this recording, and she's just like, okay, let's start over again, which I was very appreciative of. But again, like with any founder's journey, hey, we're going to have bumps in the road. You just got to pick yourself up. So if you're in a position right now that you feel like you just need the personal day, as we talked about, or maybe things aren't going the right way, you've had a few missteps, we're here to tell you that you are the only one that can get this company through to fruition. So keep on persevering in business. If you would like to head on over to our LinkedIn group, it is the Persevere Podcast, where we can continue this conversation and get suited up in Argent. Like I said, she offers a 10% for every customer, and it is the most well-made suit and investment that you will make, and you'll feel confident, and it will be an investment that actually will last a lifetime because they're very timeless. And with that, all of you keep on persevering with business. Send me a message if you have a founder that you'd like me to interview. We're looking for guests in 2023. I'd love to hear their story. And just participate in all of our social media channels. And follow me, Patty Post, CEO. I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn at Patty Gaslin Post. Thank you. And until next time, keep on persevering in business.